am here with gospel saxophonist, my friend, brother, from Baltimore, Maryland, by way of Dayton, Ohio.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The Reverend, right? Is it Reverend?
Hey, well, associate pastor.
Associate pastor, Charles
Elder.
Johnson, right?
Yeah.
What church?
I'm out at Crown of Life Worship Center.
Crown of Life Worship Center in Baltimore, Maryland,
It's
right?
in Edgewood, Maryland.
Edgewood, Maryland. Is that right outside of Baltimore?
Right outside of Baltimore, going towards Delaware on 95.
Thank you for joining us, man.
Glad to be here.
Talk about your beginnings. How did you start playing the saxophone?
Man, I've been playing. I started out in the Dayton Public School system, in band, fourth grade. Just had an interest for, trying to play some type of instrument. Of course, I drove my mother crazy because I brought home one instrument, then I brought home another instrument. So just loved music and found out that I had the gift and the natural tact for it. And my music teacher kind of took me under his wing. So I just played in band, and before I knew it, I was just playing multiple instruments.
Do your parents play or sing?
My mother sings.
Okay.
My father, and I was raised in a single-parent home. My father loves music. But my mother was my primary inspiration. She sang with the Ephesians in Dayton, Ohio. Sammy Stevens, I don't know if you know, but they traveled all over. But a great singer, great ear for music. But nobody played anything. My grandmother played piano, and I think I might have got it from her.
Yeah, so you play piano and saxophone.
I play
right?
keyboards as well. Wow.
And then you matriculated. That's my SAT word today.
Matriculate.
You matriculated to Kent State University School of Music. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I majored on saxophone and actually majored on tenor sax, which is a little different. Most people major on alto, the little smaller one that you use. But I like the tenor because I really like deep tones, rich tone. I love Grover Washington Jr.
Right.
He was one of my major influences. So I was playing Wine Light and everything else I could play that he played. So he was a major influence in my life.
Right. So this is amazing. You play keys on Sunday morning, right?
Yeah.
Then you get up and pick up your saxophone.
Yeah.
And do something else in the afternoon.
That's it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Try to sing, not as good as my mother, but try to do that.
And you teach choir.
Yeah, I'm a choir director as well.
Right.
Been doing that since I was about 14, 15 years old.
You got 10 jobs.
Yeah, I always got to make the
before
money.
we get into the Charles Johnson, the artist, there's Charles Johnson, the minister, there's Charles Johnson, the choir director.
Yes, sir.
What are some of your challenges in being in church music ministry?
The challenges are just the scheduling. You have to be very coordinated, be very flexible. That's really the main thing.
Well, you got it easy. That's what your only challenge.
I think that's the main, that's the main thing. I mean, I've been doing it. I love doing it. I love people. Love working with people. I always have loved choirs.
That's good.
So it hasn't been too much of a challenge. Because I'm actually Adventist, so I worship on Saturday, but I play.
You do both
in church, and I do both.
So what Adventist church do you go to?
Crown of Life Worship Center.
You play there too?
Yes. Yeah.
And what's the Sunday spot?
The Sunday spot is Sharp Street Memorial United Methodist Church, very historic church.
And where is that at?
That's in Dolphin Street in Edding, right in downtown Baltimore.
Okay, yeah, that was the church that was referring to at first.
Yes.
So you got Sharp Street, and then you have the Crown of Life Worship Center.
That's it.
My God. That's all right, man. You busy on the weekends, ain't you?
That's it. I'm doing the Lord's work.
How's the week look like?
The week I'm working at Verizon Wireless. So I stay up at 9 to 5.
So we need
7 days a
we
week?
need to talk when this interview is over. We work at Verizon Wireless.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I looked at my last bill. Charles, we need to have a conversation.
You can't do that. I work in government contracts. I don't work on the personal side. So that excludes me.
He might know somebody to know somebody.
That's right.
That's
right.
Let's talk about your CDs.
Yes.
With an S.
Yeah.
You have you cut your first CD when?
2000.
2000?
Yeah, I just moved to Baltimore, I think, in 97 from Ohio. Came to play for an evangelistic crusade and ended up liking it here. And Patrick Austin, a great musician here in Baltimore area, he recommended Sharp Street. Bruce Haskins was the pastor at that time, and I ended up going there, being a musician, and been there for ever since. Actually, I left for 6 years to go to Alabama, and that's a whole nother story. But I'm back here because I have grandchildren.
Gotcha. So. What prompted you to say, hey, I want to be an artist, I want to record my own CDs?
People affirmed the gift, and the musicianship. I'm not saying I'm the best. I wasn't, I wanted to be like Kenny G and Grover and Najee and all those. So I just really put in a lot of work, practicing my craft, trying to develop my sound.
Right.
And people said you really need to, they were blessed by the music I was doing. I used to play a lot of jazz, but God kind of pulled me more towards the gospel, still using my style and my technique, but the message had changed. So it really just changed my craft, but I developed my sound over time, and people said, you need to get in the studio.
So who are other saxophonists that you might admire? Like either old school or new school? Or...
Well, you got the history. You got John Coltrane. I mean, in the old jazz era. But Grover Washington, I think, was my primary influence.
Gotcha.
Yes, and Najee. People out when I would play certain gigs, people thought I actually was Najee because we kind of looked alike, light skin, and had the goatee and everything. I said, no, I'm not him. But you know him, even locally, Kim Waters, you know, all of these guys have influenced my style.
Let's talk about your CD, your newest project.
Yes.
2017, you released it?
Yes. Yes, last year.
Right. I remember because, you know, we all in this together. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So talk about the project. What's on it?
This is called True Worship. So you can see my shirt here.
I'm a true worshiper.
I'm a true worshiper, man.
Where can people get those T-shirts at?
You can get them. Actually, going to be on my website. It's coming soon.
Okay.
Calm down. But right now, they would just have to hit me up via my website, and I'm sure that's showing there.
Right.
But I'm trying to get it on the website as well. So. But True Worship came from John chapter 4, actually, where Jesus met the woman at the well and was talking, and he got all in her business, letting her know, you know, about the wild husbands that she had and all of that. But then he switched the subject about worship, and he said, you know, now's the time that it's not about where you worship, but it's about who you worship. So that's how this album was birthed. So it's all about worship. It's my experience through worship, entering into the presence of God. I've got some mostly original tunes on there. But I do have some standard, praise is what I do is a very familiar thing, talks about worship, so I end the thing with that. But most of it is came out that I got to work with some great musicians, Jonathan DuBose Jr., Sean Michael Ray on bass, a lot of guys who have been in the industry.
How can folks find your CD?
They can find it on Amazon. It's at all the digital platforms. It's everywhere out there. I've got it on CD Baby, Amazon, iTunes, anywhere you can get it. If you go to my website, you can get it there.
Okay, you've been in ministry for a while now. You have any advice for any young musicians out there?
Young musicians, I would say, number one, just prepare yourself, not just technically, but spiritually. Make sure you stay in the Word, especially when you're speaking of gospel music. You need to make sure your faith, you're not just performing, but you're living what you're presenting to the people. And that's my whole thing behind True Worship. Is not, you know, Romans 12:1 says, presenting our bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. So worship is a lifestyle. So I challenge them to live the life that they're proclaiming on stage and off stage, and to you know, practice your craft, and be humble.
Right. How can folks find you?
They can find me on my website, www.charlesjohnsonjr.com, and they can also go to Facebook. I'm at Gospel Charles Johnson Jr. They can follow me there, and those are the main areas they can reach me at.
Y'all pick up Charles Johnson's project.
Yes.
I have it. I listen to it in the car. It's great riding music down the road.
What's the name of it again?
It's called True Worship.
True Worship.
True Worship.
Okay.
Lastly, talk about your family real quick.
My family, I am married. Who just celebrated 20 years.
Bless you,
Amelia
bless you.
Johnson. Yeah,
Bless
that's
you.
what brought me to
Same
Baltimore, to the same woman, one woman. I met her. She's from East Baltimore, and we've been married. We've got 2 grown children, and I have 6 grandchildren. So that's what brought me back to Baltimore.
That's all right, man. Thank you so much.
Thank
this
you
has
for
been a
having
pleasure.
me, Phillip. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Charles,
Thank
the
you,
product
sir.
of the IGA conference as well.
That's
and
it.
Thank you for
it.
your support for the IGA conference.
You're very welcome.
For more information on how to become a guest on Real Talk with Phillip Carter, or for general inquiries, please email us at realtalkwithphillipcarter@yahoo.com. Tune in next Monday for another edition of Real Talk with Phillip Carter.